Welcome, everyone. I have the honor to moderate this exciting panel today. We have three brilliant panelists with us, but before I ask them onto the stage, I want to share a little story with you guys. So a couple of weeks ago, I sat down with the head of innovation of one of the world's largest wholesalers, and I asked them, so how good is your company at spotting trends? And he answered by giving me a concrete example, the example of Dubai chocolate. We're in Switzerland, so I'm sure you guys are familiar with Dubai chocolate, the crunchy chocolate pistachio combination that went viral in December 23. So the innovation team at this wholesaler, they spotted Dubai chocolate in March 24, so 3 months after it first cracked the internet. And they started ordering 2 tons of Dubai chocolate. They scouted a supplier, they negotiated the price, they figured out the logistics, they calculated the forecast, and by the time they were ready to deliver, no one wanted the Dubai chocolate anymore. The trend had faded away. So this is just a quick example of how trend forecasting and trend analysis and understanding trends can go wrong. And I don't want any of us to be making this mistake. And that's why, we also with modern technologies, we don't have to anymore. And that's why today I have 3 amazing entrepreneurs with me that all developed AI systems that help us make better decisions, analyze trends. And I welcome with me on stage Philipp, Anne, and Alon. So there was a plan to play a jingle when they move up, but I mean, you guys did a good clap. So I will introduce all 3 of them in a second. Yeah, you sit. Alon, you come here.
Okay.
All right, no, you're here. Perfect.
We're good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect dress code, all in white. So starting with Philipp. Philipp is one of the leading AI voices in Germany. So when he went to university, he studied business, but he also explored his creative side. He side hustled as a musician. He played blues concerts and rock shows. So we see he doesn't only have a sense for data and business, but also a creative side. And after his university, the data nerd in him won, and he started Signatrix, an AI intelligence platform that analyzes in-store cameras and helps retailers make better decisions, improve economics and operations. And beyond Signatrix, he is one of the founding members of the German Association for AI and hosts a podcast on startup AI insights. So a real AI data nerd that knows food retail and can play the guitar. So please welcome with me, Philipp. Next time we have Anne. Anne, I met her in person for the first time last night, and she really is one of these people. When you talk to her, you get infected by her passion. Oh. Her topic is consumer meets AI, or people meet AI, but people in the sense of consumers, but also in the sense of just human beings. And she has a background in consumer psychology, holds a PhD from the University of Munich in science and technology marketing. What a cool topic. And was a professor here at the University of Zurich, and is now founder of Delta Labs, an AI system that leverages digital twins in order for all of us in the CPG place to make better decisions. So, well, big round of applause for Anne. My last amazing brilliant mind here is Alon, just arrived, literally. We're happy to have you here. He is an entrepreneur and techie by heart. Learned how to code at the age of 12. So I looked it up, the same as Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, learned how to code at the age of 12.
Good sign.
Had his first company at the age of 15, selling computers to to SMEs and spent a decade at Google as the CMO for Israel and Greece, and left a 7-figure equity package at Google to go and start his own company. And that company is Tastewise. Tastewise is an AI intelligence platform that allows, or that provides AI agents for trend forecast, for category management, and competitive analysis. So a full-on techie that really knows the food space. Please clap for Alon. Starting with my first question, Philipp, looking at you. So Signatrix, I'm curious too, like, I had a conversation with my 10-year-old daughter beforehand. She asked me what I'm doing in Zurich, in Switzerland, and I tried to explain to her what the panel is about. And I tried to pitch what you do. I was like, using cameras and understanding consumer insights, but give us the quick debrief. How would you explain to a 10-year-old, maybe, what Signatrix does, and how it's better for food brands and for retailers than the human eye?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good test. I'm curious how you pitched it, though. So I think staying sort of in children's analogies. I think you have the store, and if it's a small children's store, you're all good. You look at it. What's where, who's buying what, and so forth. Once you kind of scale it up, and it's the size of this room or 10 times the size of this room, you have no idea what's going on, and it helps you if you knew what was going on, and you have all these cameras in there, and we kind of help retailers take the cameras to know what's going on in terms of on-shelf availability, analytics, theft, things like that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Moving on to you, Anna. So AI twin. Also, when I tried to explain my daughter, what is an AI twin? I told her, it's like a twin that lives in the digital world, and she was asking, so is it like a WhatsApp avatar? Oh. So that's her analogy. How would you say what Delta Lab is and what you guys do?
Yeah.
And how is that?
To a 10-year-old.
To a 10-year-old or to this audience?
It's actually a really good way of explaining it already. So basically an AI twin is a synthetic respondent. So it is not a real person that we're simulating. But you basically have, and this is not the 10-year-old explanation, you have a probabilistic model of consumer judgments and how they would react to certain stimuli when they have certain characteristics in a certain context. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Alon, moving on to you. So, nowadays, you know how to code. I don't know how to code, but I do know how to vibe code. So I coded a few AI agents just for my personal use. A bit of a provocative question. So, nowadays, every food company also has their all internal data, and we have the large language models in an enterprise version. Why would a food company work with Tastewise versus just building their internal AI system?
Yeah, so basically we are working with 80% of the largest food brands as well as some of the leading flavor companies in the world. And they do choose to go with an enterprise-grade solution that is actually trustworthy. So if 400,000 of their employees are using an agent, it needs to actually be enterprise-grade, provide the right answer, and make sure that you don't actually go to a customer and pitch something that is actually does not make sense and can truly embarrass you. So we basically have the largest consumer panel in the world on food and beverage, as well as the monitoring of every single restaurant menu, web visit to a recipe, as well as best-selling items, e-retail. And we just bring it all together for automating customer relations and everything from the innovation all the way to the shelf.
Awesome. So one more building on that. So my first company was 10 years ago in the supplement space. We were selling adaptogenic botanical supplements, which back in the day was a trend that was just starting. Now it's everywhere. 2016, I was too early to the market in Germany. It was already a thing in the US. So identifying a trend is one thing, but timing is just as crucial, and also meeting product market fit. What are current trends you see early signals on that everyone here in this room should be aware of?
I think that the most important trend is actually that it's much more difficult to commercialize a product and put it on the shelf. So I know it's not exactly the culinary trend we're all after, or the the need claim that we're all after, but it really is becoming so extremely difficult to create a product and have your commercial team get a shelf space. So you need to be so much more well integrated from the innovation all the way to your commercial team to be successful. So it's not enough that the R&D team knows what the consumers are up to now. All right, GLP-1, we all know that it's actually making such a big impact on the US, food and beverage sales, especially with the higher income audiences. But if you don't know that 10% of the menus in the US already have a snackable version of their item, if you go to your operator and you don't pitch it, it doesn't matter if the R&D created such a great product, it's just not going to be commercialized. But if you asked already, I think hydration that was very prominently in water that we saw already in 2022, and many companies were tapping into it, is making big waves into the food area. We're seeing a lot of ethnic cuisines, like Korean cuisine, is now really making its way to mainstream America as well as Western Europe. And then if you take every single audience that you're marketing to, they have micro trend that is actually applicable to them. So it's no longer just the one size fits all. And what Fabio showed, you can create a personalized campaign within a click. So why not move your company to a place where it's hyper-personalized, and even the same product can be recontextualized for different people in a different way.
So we only have 20 minutes, which is super short, but I have one question I want to have an open discussion about with you guys. So a friend of mine is a mathematician, and he is obsessed with the human subconscious. And he always tells me our subconscious has a complex algorithm. So what we consider gut instinct already has to run through all these very complex internal algorithms that we are consciously not aware of. So I'm curious, you guys are the AI minds. If we take a category manager, for example, with 20 years of experience and a real gut instinct, who makes the better decisions? Who has the most data and makes the better decisions? The AI system or the human?
So I'm a big, take one step back, and so conscious of time, right? But I think there's been this huge story that's been told about everybody's going to be out of a job soon, etc. And I don't think that's true. I think even in chess, you see machine plus human is sort of still sort of highest ELO scores and things like that. So I think we're looking, or we want to strive to sort of look how can we make machines and humans the best complements to each other. And I think talking category managers, things like that. So I think humans are still in terms of creativity or picking experiments or picking bets and things like that. What could work? Why would people kind of feel there's something there? I think I'm not familiar with a model that has really good intuition on that. But I think on the other hand, there's another sort of, let's say, optimization, things like that we see a lot when working with retailers. And I think we've seen it we've heard in the opening keynote there with 30% food waste and things like that. Obviously, that's happening on human watches, right? and sort of humans optimizing supply chains and things like that. And at the same time, we see a lot of out of stock in stores. Some categories are out of stock 30% of the time, especially if they run out of stock during the day, maybe multiple times. So this is something where we found that having, let's say, machine attention can make a dramatic difference, where we can say look, do this now, please, right? And instead of sort of worrying about should I do this, or that, and I have 10 things going on, right? So I think sort of figuring out, what's the realm of humans and what maybe we want to do or don't do well, right? And maybe we can optimize there. So I think that's the kind of paradigm makes sense in my opinion.
You work a lot with category managers. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think this is a discussion that we currently have a lot going on, no matter which space, because AI is going into every domain right now. And I think the discussions also kind of push forward because now we have AI models, that speak to us in a very human language. So we start to humanize the technology a lot. And what gets lost in the discussion is understanding that artificial intelligence, the way it is trained is inherently very, very different from human intelligence. So we don't need 1 million pictures to learn, what a cat looks like or what a cat is or a fish. So we need a lot less data. We're very good at uncertain conditions. And it's important to understand these differences because then again, you understand that it's not either or, it's hybrid. And this is basically, I think, the conclusion that most experts currently get to, no matter which domain you're discussing. And I think that is because AI is so very, very different. And this is important to keep in mind when you have these discussions. It's never about mindlessly giving over your tasks to AI and simply go check. That's not our role. And no matter which research paper, et cetera, you look at, it's always the hybrid combination that wins.
Do you agree?
I can disagree. But if we're thinking about it, the advancements that were made and the pace of and the acceleration, right? Claude wrote its entire Claude code, which is where you code, 80% by itself. Mm-hmm. In such a fast pace, right? People are talking about super intelligence that is coming, 2028. So I think things will change. But I think if we're looking at the enterprise, and we've been doing AI for food and beverage since 2017, right? I think what enterprises are doing today, they're doing a lot of experimentation, right? There's a lot of token maxing. People are trying to waste their tokens because they think it will increase productivity. The truth of the matter is that most of them are unhappy with the results and the productivity that it brings, because if you give people just like a chatbot and they ask questions, and even if it's connected to all your data sources and you think it will increase productivity, the results across the industry it's not. Mm-hmm. And this is why companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, they all opened actually services companies and consulting and integration companies to help organizations actually to implement. So I think that if you talk about the category manager, they're superhumans, right? Their job is so complex, from the production to the flavor to all the way to the shelf. But there's so much we can help them do. But I think that if the right question and test is, if you have agents running for you at the background without you needing to prompt them, you're actually using AI in the right way. Mm. If not, your teams are not using AI in the right way. It's same. It's in a very linear way, and actually, it's very difficult to create agents that will look at 7,000 of your customers, see what are the categories or the products you're selling to them, and evaluate if there's any trend or any competitor that is coming around or new flavor that they should be aware of. And this is something that a computer can do, or the AI can do so much easier, and actually can increase productivity. And I think the last thing I always I agree with Philipp. He said, when you're coming to a manager and you said, I increase your productivity by a lot, they can say, okay, so I can reduce cost. Mm-hmm. But when you're going to leaders and you say, I can increase your productivity by a lot, they can say, okay, how can we do more? Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter, this industry can use with a lot more. So I think that the combination until superintelligence is coming is going to be very exciting.
And what's your bet? When is it coming?
Silicon Valley is the ones that are that are pushing the boundaries are saying the end of 2027, and then the others are saying 2028. So it's not a long time.
So not a long time. End of 2027, which is a year and a half from now. I want to know from you guys. You guys are at the forefront of AI food innovation. So there's abundance of different tools. You guys represent 3 of them. How can a food and beverage company keep a competitive advantage if all of these tools nowadays are available to all of us? Mm.
I think a key point was actually just mentioned. What we notice is basically you can't just think in AI tools. What we see a lot of companies, like you said, they're experimenting a lot. So they start, one AI tool here, one AI tool there. and then it's not really working, because you need to really rethink your processes. What does it mean if you have AI here? So for us with the AI twins, it basically changes the whole process of how you generate customer insights, because you can start testing a lot more that you didn't test in the past, right? So it's not about, in the past I ran 1 customer survey or 2 per year, and now I do that with AI. It's rather your whole process, needs to change, and then it's more about orchestrating and, teams coming together interdisciplinary on the platform, and all of this has to organize. And for me, this is a key learning right now. And this is why I totally agree with OpenAI and everybody moving more into the consulting, because what we see, it's not enough to go ahead and simply just buy an AI tool and give it to your team and then just expect something out of it. You need to rethink your whole process and what this tool means to actually benefit from AI.
And there we still need the human for.
Yeah,
awesome.
There you go.
So data, or making better decisions based off data and leveraging AI to do that. 3 amazing experts. I want to ask you guys, do you have one message or one key takeaway that everyone here in this room should be walking out with?
I think so. I think sort of maybe it's also a question, an answer to your last question, or an attempt. So I think sort of competitive positioning and what it means to be a firm is kind of built on decisions and processes and priorities that sort of leadership sets, in a sense, right? And I think that remains to be true. And we still set priorities, and we still define which agents we run, which optimizations we run, and what we prompt, right, or what prompts we automate, or whatever, right? So I think that remains to be true, and I think we shouldn't sort of fall into this trap to be like, doesn't matter anymore, right? Because now we have these intelligent machines. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense to still treat them as tools, although I think, like, I would argue that there are certain categories where, at least to me personally, these are already superhuman. Like, I study mathematics, these things can do mathematics a lot better than I can, right? So, like, no questions there. But still, like, I choose, like, okay, this is an interesting problem I want to work on, like, help me think through it. And this is, like, super cool, right? But it's the smart, digital person kind of helping me, right? So I think it depends a lot on sort of frame of mind and sort of retaining your own agency and figuring out, like, what do you want to work on? What do you think is important? And then this can be like a great multiplier.
So in one sentence, in a key message, you would say?
Keep thinking what sets you apart, and then use tools to get better at that.
Take notes.
Or as Naval puts it, waste tokens, save time.
Yeah.
I think I would go in a similar direction and give you as a key takeaway what also is currently a big discussion in Silicon Valley with all the big tech giants. Building new products or more content is getting a lot cheaper with AI. So this is no longer the differentiator. And currently what they're saying is the big differentiator is, and I think this is very fitting for this conference, is taste. And taste, they do not define as, sensorial taste, but taste in the sense of knowing what to build and not just building more. This is the key differentiator. So it's more important to, like you said, also personalize, know your customers, know the trends, know what to do, and rather, start with this first rather than going ahead and building more and more and more, because this more of, is no longer a differentiator where, building new things has become inherently a lot cheaper. So it's all about taste and knowing what to do.
I would say that we started Tastewise as a trend prediction company, and we're now basically talking about commercialization, because we think that trends as a data, it's like almost been commoditized. The question is your organization ready to be actually taking advantage or tapping into the opportunity and getting the right product in front of the right customer and then the right consumer. Distribution is becoming the most challenging part, and I think that if you are planning, a new tech architecture that's going to take you a couple of years to implement, you actually need to rethink about your plans, because things are moving so fast. Try to see how you are partnering with the industry to actually get results right away, and technology is not the target. your business objective is. Do you need to increase sales? Do you need to actually find new audiences for your existing products? Or do you need to get the right line extension when you're going to Walmart next week? This is the right thing to focus on. And if it's going to come from bottom up, it's going to be cool. But cool is not good always for business. You need to be a top-down decision of what do you need to optimize, and then what the tools that you need to, and the processes that you need to put in place are.
Awesome. So 3 amazing, brilliant minds here with us. I want to open the floor for you guys to ask questions if you have any. But before that, please give applause with me to these 3 wonderful people. Perfect.
Thank you so much for the panel. So question for Anne on digital twins. So one of the big challenges when we do consumer testing is that what people say and what people does is completely different, right? So wondering, out of ignorance, do digital twins also get embarrassed or also follow these social norms? Or how do you manage this bias?
Very, very interesting and important point. Social desirability, problems that we typically have with human sampling and surveys. So this all depends on how the systems are set up. So this is very important to consider, which, also ask providers how they set up, because in our experience, very much depends on the database that you're using to start simulating. So obviously, if you go to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT, act like Laura 19, and now, tell me what you like, you basically get the internet average and as a feedback, and that typically shows a lot of social desirability, impression management, etc. But if you have, as a data foundation, more behavioral data, for instance, more, targeted towards your customers, all that changes quite a bit. And same with social desirability. It's all a matter of calibrating the systems to get that out of them. And also, the way you ask questions, like you would with humans. If I ask first, is sustainability important to you? The twin tells you, yes, it's very important. And if I then ask, do you like my new product, which is very sustainable, the twin will say yes. So this is also important, knowing how to interact with these systems, not to increase these things, yeah.
We have time for one more question, so be brave and ask now.
Thank you for the great panel. I was wondering, we talk a lot about how food is impacted by culture, and what we see is that a lot of the models, they're either in the US or in China. In Europe, we have with Mistral one model. At the same time, we hear Scherer sort of like going back into more sort of like niches and finding these niches which are doing great. At the same time, AI amplifies what's already there. So how do we navigate these cultural topics alongside these AI trends, I would say, so that AI doesn't eat food culture away?
So it's clear, I mean, some estimates indicate that 90% of the web is already synthetic. Right? It was created by, and obviously, if you scroll today on social, you don't know what's real and what's fake. I think that while this is true, there's also so many subcultures that the internet is actually creating. The question is, how do you discover? And you can see it really well when you're following small brands. And now they start around a small community and they come up with a really cool product, and then it grows, like, Bulldog in the US. If you haven't heard about it, it's such an exciting product. It's like, noodles that are extremely spicy, very funny. And they found an audience in a small community that was, unique. And if you're talking to your kids, they're spending, 20 hours on average on computer games, and computer games is not just the game, it's a whole community around the game. And it can be around food, and it can be around, fighting, it can be around. So I think actually that the internet as a whole is actually increasing diversity. The question is how companies are not making a mistake. There's like the famous example that someone created a pink product because they thought that was popular on social media, but then it was breast cancer, week. And that was actually completely biased. So yeah, that's why enterprises need to have a very clear guideline and do a due diligence on the data sources that the teams are using, not to get into this trap.
So these three will be around for a bit over lunch. It was lovely talking to you guys and picking your brains. I absorbed some new insights. I hope you did as well. And I think it's time for lunch now, isn't it? Or handing over to Florian. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.